What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Turn the Jets podcast. I'm your host, Will Parkinson, at WillPaul11 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Day before the Badlands live show, about 30 hours from now, we will be in person with about 300 of you guys, having fun, drinking, eating, talking some Jets. If you don't have a ticket yet, I think there's like 2 or 3 left. A couple of people had to drop out due to some different things going on. So, hit up Joe or Paul via Discord or on Twitter and see if there's any tickets remaining. We're going to just talk a couple things: Breece Hall, Allen Lazard, a couple different draft nuggets and things like that. Before the live show, we'll save some of that stuff for the live show, but want to make sure we got you an episode earlier this week. As of this morning, Allen Lazard agreed to a reworked contract with the New York Jets, basically taking an $8 million pay cut from about $13 million down to about $4 million. There's a $1.75 million guarantee. It's a P5 role. Like, if he's on a different team, which I fully expect him to be, which I'll get to in a second, that'll offset and it will be given to the other team. The Jets will get that money back. Lazard has been kind of a talking point, I guess, over the last 2 weeks or so. Hey, what's going to be the deal with him? He's going to be on the roster. He's certainly not going to play at that $11 million bucks. Jets went to him, got him to take a pay cut. I think people are reading into it in a way that I'm not sure is accurate. Maybe he'll be on the team. I would be very surprised. I think this is a clear, he has $2.5 million in there in upside, so can get some of the money back. End of the day, this is making it so it's a movable contract, whether they trade or cut him over the next, 2 or 3 months. Maybe it's on draft day they trade him or cut him, with the Steelers. Maybe there's something they do, in early June. They get some of the cap money back from Rodgers and Mosley, and not really much from Mosley, but some from Mosley. And then maybe they trade Lazard and they get some money back that way. The deal will void after 25. There'll be a small dead cap hit of about $4 million in 26. But overall, it's nothing against Lazard. Like, yeah, sure. In the current roster, you could use Allen Lazard, but I don't know how much better he is than Josh Reynolds at this point, if at all. And, the Jets are going to likely draft 1, if not 2 pass catchers. Probably should draft 3 in total between receiver and tight end. Everything, in my understanding at least, is that this has nothing to do with Lazard being on the team in 2025. No signing bonus. There's an offset of the only guaranteed money. There's no real guaranteed money left on the deal. Him and Rodgers are very buddy-buddy. Rodgers likely to go to Pittsburgh. The Steelers now, with just that being a $4 million cap hit, they'd only take on $2 million of it. Like, kind of feels like where it ends up going. So I didn't read Lazard as being on the team at all based on this. I actually read this as it's a much easier route for him to not be on the team in 2025. I don't think this affects the Jets in any way, shape, or form for drafting a receiver in round 2 and round 3, or round 2 or round 3, round 4, whatever it may be. I fully expect them to draft 1, if not multiple different pass catchers in this draft. As I mentioned, whether it's do they go more of a Jalen Noel? Do they go more of a Jack Besh type? Do they go more of Ryan Williams? Like, who do they, do they go more burner? Do they go more guy who's inside-outside flexibility? Do they go someone that's, hyper athletic? Do they go an A.O. Maynard? Do they kind of go with Jaden Higgins, who's a much bigger target but tested off the charts? We'll see. I have a sense the Jets are going to like guys like Jack Besh and Jalen Noel based on character, based on film, based on athletic testing, Senior Bowl, Combine, etc. Those are 2 guys I think they'll have strong interest in. As it goes for the Breece Hall stuff, and this will be a much shorter episode. Again, be talking for an hour on stage tomorrow night, so don't want to bore you guys too much before the live show. But for those who won't be there, I want to make sure we got an episode out. When it comes to Breece Hall, I think he'll probably be on the roster in 2025, but I don't think the Jets are totally against trading him. Let's be honest here. I think Breece Hall's a really talented player. By all accounts, a good dude. Had an unbelievable start to his NFL career. Was a great back out of college. It sucks. The Denver injury was horrible. It took him, he got back for week 1, but obviously it took a little bit while, and then he finally got kind of going at the end of the year in 23. 24 has the mysterious kind of knee injury that kept him out of basically the entire offseason. Never really got clarity on that. Then has, a slow start to the year, has a couple nice moments, but feels like he's outside of a couple different plays, it doesn't feel like there's the same explosion or same kind of make you miss ability. Had a couple of, there's these one-off plays against Steelers, Bills. Bills one I wish he would have fucking scored. And that way, you look at, maybe some of the stuff, against Tennessee, right, where it didn't struggle in the run game, but then obviously the really awesome, touchdown catch. Breece is a really good player. He's very talented, a very talented pass catcher, can make people miss in the run game, but struggled with fumble issues last year right off the bat. Drive one or drive two, gets the ball punched out. And I feel like struggled maybe a little bit with some confidence holding on to the football last year. Felt like he was looking for a home run a lot of the times. In reality, it wasn't necessarily there. It was taking too many negative runs. Whereas, guys like Davis now are kind of just getting downhill right away and picking up 3 or 4 and being okay with that. I feel like Breece got a little bit into the looking for a home run all the time. Again, had some nice moments, still a good player. I don't think you're in a rush to trade him. I think you need playmakers on this team, and he's one of your best. But I think if someone's going to give you a top 75 pick, you do it. You draft a running back on day 2 or day 3 in this draft. You use that extra pick to address defensive line or right tackle or receiver or tight end. And, if you're not going to pay him, move him with you have some value now. Again, I'm not advocating for it. I just wouldn't be shocked. And again, I don't think this necessarily means they're drafting Ashton Genty. Maybe they'll have interest in Genty. I don't know. Could them kind of, his name floating around a little bit with the Jets? Is that because they want Chicago to have to come trade up with them from 10 to 7? And, they think if Chicago thinks they're going to take Genty, can they get a second-round pick out of Chicago to move up? Or, again, maybe they draft Genty, but I feel like it's more so they might want to go running back by committee, draft somebody, on day 2 or day 3. And it's a really great running back class, kind of reset the clock on that, save a little bit of money, but more so, get that extra asset to address some of the other holes. Again, safety, D tackle, tight end, right tackle, wide receiver, things like that. And then again, this is a class where you can add, another running back on day 2 or 3 that could be a really impactful player. Again, I'm not shooting down Genty. I know, Israel, Davis will be. I own a Genty jersey if he becomes a Jet. But again, I'm not saying I'll be opposed to it. If the Jets think, best player available, Genty's the best player on the board, we're going to do it. I understand it, but I just don't think Breece and Genty go hand in hand. I think in an ideal world, you had both guys, but I think there's a better chance they have neither than they have both at this point. I still think pick 7 comes down to Membo and Warren at the moment. I think either would be a good pick. I got to be honest with you. There's other guys and the Graham and Walkers of the world on defense, and Ted and Kelvin Banks and these other guys on offense. All of those, I'm sure I could talk myself into. I think a lot of those guys are really good players, but it just feels like scheme, fit, matchup, the whole thing, value of where they're at. Warren and Membo feel like the two most obvious picks at this point. Again, things could change up until the draft. I remember everyone was mocking the same 4 or 5 guys in 2022. For 2023, they end up with Will McDonald, and everyone's like, what the fuck just happened, right? So there's always that possibility. But again, I think Breece is probably here, but would I be shocked if Friday night we're talking about Breece Hall getting traded? No, I wouldn't be at all, to be honest with you. Again, I think we've all hinted at, could there be a sacrificial lamb of this new regime? Kind of one of the guys you don't expect to be moved. This happens with every regime. I know Paul and Joe and Connor have all talked about it as well. Everyone kind of assumed Quincy because he needs a new deal. I'm not so sure they don't just give Quincy some type of 1 or 2 year deal and add that on. And Quincy can be here and the whole thing. And Quincy's a former All-Pro. As much as I love Breece, they're both non-value positions, and one guy's been an All-Pro. Yes, Breece is younger and he's homegrown, but Quincy might as well be homegrown. And I don't know. I think that maybe Breece is the sacrificial lamb and say, we're not going to realistically pay you. Let's get some value now. Again, I'm not advocating necessarily for it. I'm just telling you, I think there's definitely a possibility. In terms of some other things, again, reminder, if you're going to the live show tomorrow, or if you still need tickets, I think there's a few left. It is sold out, but there's only so much room in the bar. I wish we could, have thousands and thousands of people there, but again, make sure you kind of bring some energy and juice and vibes, and we'll have a good time there. Let me do another one in August. A couple other things, quickly, as I mentioned, just in recapping, I do not think Lazard's on the team in 2025. I actually don't think he's on the team before camp. They could either be traded or cut, by June, by June 2nd, probably. Again, I don't know if Breece Hall is traded, and I'm not advocating for it's the best idea, but I think if you're able to get, decent compensation for him in terms of draft picks, I think I'd be open to doing it. Again, I'm not trying to lessen the roster and lessen the amount of good players in this team, but if you think you can fill multiple needs into a guy you're not going to pay anyways, and you're going to draft a running back and to go Davis Allen and RJ Harvey, or I don't know, Woody Marks or somebody on day 3, it's not quite as exciting of a room, but it might be just as efficient potentially and cheaper, and you can kind of maybe invest somewhere else. I still think the Jets will add players after June 1st or after the draft, once the comp pick stuff, and they kind of solidify getting a 4 and a 7, for Reddick and Conklin. They obviously pick up the 2 extra draft picks. That's great going into next year, and then obviously, is it a Keenan Allen or Tyler Lockett type? The veteran name they bring in, is it bringing in Jedrick Wills? Is it bringing in a couple of those guys if they're not able to address everything they want in the draft? So there'll be a lot there. I think lastly here, again, this is a quick 12, 13 minutes, a Thursday afternoon here. Again, Adam Shine will be coming on the pod either this week or next week. Justin Pugh as well. So those guys are locked in, ready to go. There'll be a lot more big-time guests coming up here on the show. But I think it's an exciting time. The next 2 weeks, you're going to get a lot of rumors. Read them with caution. Again, I think Membu and Warren are the likely picks at 7 as at the moment, and things could always change. I don't see them going quarterback at 7. Gentry maybe, but I feel like it's more likely not. I don't necessarily see defense, but again, you really never know. They could go best player available. And lastly, I've repeated for the 4th time on this show. Maybe I'm wrong, but I did not get the vibe or sense that Lazard's restructure, aka big pay cut, has any indication means he's going to be on the roster. If anything, I think that made him more expendable and more movable at this point. In some ways, I'd be really open to saying, hey, can you package Lazard in a 6 to move up into the 5th round and get an extra 5th rounder, or 5th to get an extra 4th? I don't even know if the Steelers would do that. That's what I would look at. And again, I think with Hall, not looking to trade him, but I'm certainly open to hearing if the Bears are like, hey, would you take, I don't know, Breece Hall and pick 70, pick 73 for a 2nd rounder. I might be open to it, to be honest with you. And hey, I got another top 40 pick and I used it and I came out of the top 40 or top 40 with, I don't know, maybe that's a bad idea or whatever it is, or it's, one of the Bears 2nd rounders and Breece in 110. And so the Jets end up with, I don't know, Membu, Mason Taylor, Jack Besh, and Jalen Noel or Jordan Phillips. I don't know. My point being, you could talk yourself into why that's not the worst idea in the world. So, again, not predicting it, just wouldn't be shocked. Appreciate you for listening. I know quick 13 minutes or so here on a Thursday. 2 weeks out officially from the NFL draft, 24 hours out from the live show. See everybody there tomorrow, and looking forward to speaking further later this week. But appreciate it for listening, and we'll talk to you guys soon.